Welcome back, friends. Now let us see your time of supply with respect to your reverse charge mechanism. So we are talking about your time of supply with respect to your reverse charge mechanism where recipient is liable to pay GST. So we are looking this from the angle of the recipient. Time of supply with respect to forward charge mechanism, supply will pay tax, so everything goes from supplier's end. Now time of supply in the reverse charge mechanism in RCM, the GST is paid, GST liability is on recipient, so everything now is looked from the angle of recipient. Now understand that when you talk about time of supply under reverse charge mechanism, whether it is for goods or services, it is same for regular taxable person and compositional taxable person. If you remember when we have discussed time of supply for forward charge mechanism, specifically for goods, the answer was different for regular taxable person and different for composition taxable person. It was same for services, whether it is regular taxable person or composition taxable person. But when you talk about time of supply for reverse charge mechanism, whether it is goods or services, it is the same for regular taxable person or composition taxable person. Now friends, let us focus on time of supply for reverse charge mechanism if at all you are talking about goods. If at all you are talking about your goods. Now, understand that RCM is equally applicable for goods, for notified goods under section 9.3, and when you talk about even in section 9.4 real estate sector, there might be RCM on goods, specifically you have RCM on cement, even on capital goods it might be there. So you have to remember that time of supply, when you talk about RCM, understand that RCM can be equally applicable for goods. Normally what we see is only RCM is applicable on services. It's not so. RCM is equally there on your goods as well, though it may be lesser in number, but it is also on goods. Whenever it is on goods, then what you have to do? Then time of supply is earliest of date of receipt of goods. Friends, you have to look from recipient's angle. So it will be receiving the goods, date of receipt of goods, the date of payment. As already discussed, whenever you talk about payment, it is payment in books or payment in bank, whichever is earlier. Payment in books or payment in bank. Now, for recipient, he is not going to receive the payment. He is going to make the payment. So, payment entry in the books of accounts of the recipient and payment, making of payment in bank statement, whichever is earliest, that will be the date of payment. And when you talk about one more aspect is there here, you are talking about 31st day from the date of document or invoice of the supplier. So, you have to see the date of invoice of the supplier at 31st day. At 31st day. It's very simple. What you have to do? Supposing there's a scenario, if at all it is said that you're talking about RCM and if at all it is said that it is for goods, all you have to do is look for the information whether they have given the date of invoice of the supplier. Whether tax invoice or commercial invoice, invoice will be given by the supplier. Now, you have to look for the invoice given by supplier may not be GST or tax invoice, but it will be commercial invoice. So, date of invoice of the supplier, it will be without GST. It will be without GST. Date of making of payment by the recipient. Date of receipt of goods, and again receipt of goods is again by recipient. So what you have to do? You have to see when the recipient has received the goods. Assume that he has received the goods on 1st of October. When the supplier has given the invoice, supposing invoice is given by the supplier on say you are talking about 1st of September. Or we will take in a scenario where you are talking about 1st of, okay, we will take it as 1st of September. Date of making of payment, supposing date of making of payment it is paid in 2 installments. Again, we will take always a scenario where payment is made in 2 installments. We are not talking about payment in books and payment in bank. If it is payment in books and payment in bank, it is whichever is earlier. So, you are talking about payment in 2 installments. 1 lakh payment is made say on 1st of August, and when you are talking about say balance 4 lakh payment is made on say 1st of December. So what you have to do? All you have to do is all the information is in your hands. Friends, understand that only when you are finding time of supply under forward charge mechanism, there are 2 steps. First step is due date of invoice, second step is your time of supply. But here directly you can find out time of supply. Directly you can find out time of supply. Now what will be the time of supply? Understand that time of supply will be categorized into 2, one for 1 lakh and one for 4 lakh. So you have to categorize your time of supply into 2 parts. One is for 1 lakh rupees and other is for 4 lakh rupees. What is that? Date of receipt of goods. So date of receipt of goods happens to be 1st of October or 31st day from the date of invoice of the supply. So you have to add 31 days. You have to add 31 days. So 31st day will be on 2nd of October. Will be on 2nd of October. 30 days will complete on 1st of October. 31st will be 2nd of October. So it is the 2nd of October. Always understand that the first date, 1st of September will not be counted in that. So always remember that point. So 2nd of October or date of making of payment, 1st of August. Which is earlier? 1st October or 2nd October or 1st of August. It will be 1st of August. 1st of August. And for the second payment, it is again you are talking about date of receipt of goods, which is 1st of October, or you are talking about the 31st day from the date of invoice, which will be the same, 2nd of October, or you are talking about date of making of payment, and this making of payment here happened on 1st of December. So here friends, the answer will be which was earlier, 1st of October. 1st of October. So here answer will be 1st of October. So you will be getting two different answers if the payment is made in 2 installments. That is all about time of supply for goods in case of reverse charge mechanism. Only one step. Only in FCM you have 2 steps. In RCM you have only one step. Excuse me. Now let us discuss about time of supply for services under RCM. For goods under RCM is section 12 subsection 3. For services under RCM is section 13 subsection 3. Now that is categorized into 2 parts. One you have general case and we have special case. So you are going to categorize that into two parts. One is general case and one is special case. Special case is a scenario where you are talking about import of services. Import of services, and it should be from associated enterprises. Import of services plus it should be from associated enterprise. Associated enterprise is nothing but loosely you can call it as related person. Associated enterprise in terms of your income tax act, in terms of your IT act. Understand that associated enterprise section 92 capital V of income tax act, you can loosely call it as related persons. Related persons. Obviously that is much wider than related person of GST, but roughly you can equate it as related persons. Right. So normal case and special case. What is the special case, friends? The special case is a scenario where you are talking about import of services from associated enterprises. When I tell service provider is outside India and you have to pay under RCM, it is import of services from associated enterprises. Now general case, let us see the answer for general case. What is the answer for general case? General case, it is very similar to goods. If you see the answer for goods, it is date of receipt of goods. Here it will be date of receipt of services. But again, make a note that I have cancelled that date of receipt of services. You may ask why. Because when you talk about services, normally services are intangible and you cannot find out when it is received. So, focusing on date of receipt of services will be of no use. Therefore, you cancel that. Forget about it. Then the next point was date of payment. Here also it is date of payment. The next point is 31 days from the date of document or invoice of the supplier. Here it is 61 days. This 31 days is now 61 days from the date of document of the supplier. If you look at this, we have made 2 changes from that of goods. One, here when you talk about receipt of goods, you don't have corresponding receipt of services because you are talking about intangibility criteria of services. And second, when you talk about goods for RCM, under RCM, it is 31 days from the date of document or invoice of the supplier. Here the 31 days is changed to 61 days. Right. Now the same question was asked about services. The same question is asked about services. First of all, question may or may not give directly that it is a case of RCM. You may have to find out that it is a case of RCM. They may talk about legal services by advocate, they may talk about sponsorship services, they may talk about renting of motor vehicle, they may talk about your goods transportation agency. There are listed services, right? They may talk about transfer of copyright services. So you have list of services under RCM. Question may not give directly that it is RCM. You first have to find out whether it is RCM or not. Now then you have to see only 2 things. What is the date of invoice of supplier? What is the date of invoice of supplier? Understand that this invoice of supplier may not be a tax invoice, it may be commercial invoice. Understand that supplier is not going to charge GST. So it may be only a commercial invoice, normal invoice without GST. Normal invoice without GST and without any GST number. So date of document or invoice of the supplier, and you are talking about date of making of payment by the recipient. What you have to do, if at all I give a question where your invoice is raised on say 1st of October, right? So you are talking about date of making of payment that happens on say 1 lakh payment is happening on 1st of August, balance 4 lakhs, total value is 5 lakhs. Again, I am all taking all the cases where payment is made in installment to make it more interesting. So 1st of December, all you have to do is, what you have to do, there cannot be date of receipt of services, even if it is given, ignore that. So all you have to do is add 61 days, you have to add 61 days. So 31 days will be ending on 2nd of November, so it will be ending on your 2nd of December. You're talking about 2nd of December, right? Now what will be the time of supply? Again, time of supply, friends, you have to categorize that into two parts. One, you have to talk about your 1 lakh. Second, you have to talk about your 4 lakhs. Now first part, you're talking about 61 days from the date of invoice, which ends on 2nd of December. How 1st of October, 31 days will end on, October itself has got 31 days. So 31st day will end on the 1st of the, it will end on, you'll have 30 days, 31 days. Beg your pardon. It will end on 1st of December. So October will have 30 days, November 1st, then December 1st. So 61 days. Here for services, it is 61 days, not 31 days. 61 days will end on 1st of your December. October will have balance 30 days plus 1, November 1st plus 30, December 1st of December. Right, and when you talk about date of making of payment for 1 lakh, it was 1st of August. So here the answer is 1st of August. For the second scenario, again 61 days from the date of invoice, it will be 1st of December, and payment of 4 lakhs is also on 1st of December. So both are on 1st of December, you can take any one. Coincidentally, both are on 1st of December. 61 days from invoice is also on 1st of December. And date of payment of 4 lakhs is also on 1st of December. So answer is 1st of December. So that is how you have to find out the answer. Now, when you talk about special case where you are in services, you are talking about RCM services, that's a special case. Special case, the time of supply in special case is earlier off. When you talk about associated enterprises, government thinks that payment may or may not be made. So therefore, they tell that in special scenario, they tell that we are not going to see 61 days from invoice. They will see date of payment. Just like the earlier case, they are going to see date of payment also here also and date of payment here also. And instead of 61 days from the date of document of supplier, they are going to ignore that. They are going to go with expenses entry in the books of accounts of recipient. Expenses entry in the books of accounts of recipient. Friends, the special case is talking about what? Which case? It is talking about import of services plus special case. It is from associated enterprises. Associated enterprises. So, in special case, they tell that we are going to focus on date of payment, whether in books or bank, whichever is earlier. And we are going to compare it with what? We are going to compare it with expenses entry in the books of accounts of the recipient. Expenses entry in the books of accounts of the recipient. Now friends, if I take a scenario where there is importation of services, say VJ Incorporation of USA is giving the services to PJ Limited of India. Obviously, this is a case of importation of services and RCM is applicable. It is importation of services. Now, I am giving certain datas. Now, what are the datas which is given? Date of invoice of supplier, that is VJ Incorporation. date of invoice of supplier. Then date of expenses entry in the books of accounts of recipient, when expenses entry is recorded by the recipient. Then date of making of payment in books, date of making of payment in bank. Again, when I am talking about date of making of payment in books and date of making of payment in bank, it is all in the books of accounts of recipient. Everything is in the books of accounts of recipient because you are looking from recipient's angle. So the entire focus is on the books of accounts of recipient, that is PJ Limited. But yes, obviously when you are talking about invoice, that will be of that of supplier. It may not be GST invoice, it may be only a commercial invoice, just a normal invoice without any GST on it and without any GST number. GST surely will not be there because the recipient is going to pay GST. Even without any GST number is there, that is more than sufficient. Now, if I tell that the date of invoice is say 1st of August, date of expenses entry in the books of accounts of the recipient is say 1st of September, date of payment in the books of accounts, let us say payment is not made in 2 installments, it is made only in 1 installment, but in books it is accounted on 30th of October and in bank it is reported on 2nd of November. Possible in books that is recorded on 30th of October, but clearance happens on 2nd of November, so in bank it is on 2nd of November. Now what will be the answer? Now many of you will go with date of expenses entry. Understand that if I am not giving anything, it is a case of normal importation of services. If I am not giving anything, it is a case of normal importation of services. So when I am talking about normal importation of services, the answer is earlier of what? Earlier of date of payment in books or payment in bank, whichever is earlier, date of payment in books, date of payment in bank, whichever is earlier, compare it with 61 days from the date of invoice of the supplier. This will be the normal answer. This would be the normal answer, normal importation of services. Now when I have not given anything, whether VJ Limited or VJ Incorporation or PJ Limited are associated enterprises, you have to go with the normal answer. Payment in books is on 30th of October. Payment in bank is on 2nd of November. 61 days from the date of invoice. 61 days from the date of invoice will be 1st September, 1st October. 1st October. So when I calculate 61 days from 1st of August, it will end on 1st of October. August will have 30, balance 30 days plus 1 which will be 1st of September plus another 30, 1st of October. Now answer will be whichever is earlier, which is 1st of October. Answer will be whichever is earlier, which is 1st of October. So you are not going to go with special case. Special case you will go. Special importation of services only and only if I tell. Only if I tell that VJ Limited is related person or associated enterprises of PJ. VJ Incorporation is related person or associated enterprises of PJ Limited. How I may give that VJ Incorporation is having. I may tell that VJ Incorporation, I may give this particular fact that VJ Incorporation is say having 51% shareholding in PJ Limited, or I may give such special case. I may give an indication that they are related person or to be very specific associated enterprises. So if at all the question is mentioning the fact that, if at all the question is mentioning directly or indirectly the fact that VJ Incorporation and PJ Limited are associated enterprises, only and only then you are going to go with special case. Normal scenario, if nothing is given, you are going to go with normal formula. And if I tell that there is associated enterprises relationship between VJ Incorporation and PJ Limited, then you go for special case. So you have to be very careful. Assume that the question is giving directly or indirectly the fact that they are associated enterprises. Directly means they will tell that they are associated enterprises. Indirectly means it may tell that VJ Incorporation is holding 51% in PJ Limited or vice versa. That is the scenario, friends. Then then your time of supply is date of payment in books. Payment is always date of payment in books or payment in bank, whichever is early. So I am taking both. This example I have not taken installment. So just to have a difference, I am telling that if at all in books and banks it is given, then you are talking about whichever is earlier. It is not a case of installment. It is the same payment. Say it is same 5 lakh rupees. The same 5 lakh rupees. 5 lakh rupees in books and 5 lakh rupees in bank statement. So same 5 lakh rupees, no installment scenario. So now you have to take whichever is earlier. And expenses entry, recording of expenses entry in the books of accounts. Recording of entry in the books of accounts of recipient. Now friends, what is the date of payment in books? 30th of October. What is the date of payment of payment in the bank statement? It is 2nd of November. When that expenses is recorded? 1st of September. 1st of September. So what will be the answer now? Answer will be 1st of September. Answer will be 1st of September. In the previous case, if at all it was a normal importation of services, there is no associated enterprises relationship, answer would have been 1st of October. If I tell that there is associated enterprises relationship, then the answer becomes 1st of September given the data. So that is all about your time of supply in case of reverse charge mechanism for goods as well as for services. There is a small note in terms of note number 1 which is given. If at all time of supply cannot be found as per above, if it means that there are some data which are missing. Supposing if I tell that supplier has not at all given the document, then you cannot find out. I am just giving an example. Supposing if I tell that supplier has not at all given the document, you cannot find out whether it is 31 days for goods or 61 days for services. You cannot find out that particular date. Let us assume that recipient is not having any track of making of payment whether in books or bank. He is always making the payment in cash and there is no books of accounts. So again, such are the cases where you cannot find out time of supply. In such a scenario, time of supply will be the date of entry in the books of accounts of the recipient. Expenses entry in the books of accounts of the recipient. Expenses entry in the books of accounts of the recipient. If, and this is applicable for all the cases, this note is applicable whether you talk about goods or whether you talk about services, normal case or special case. So it is trying to tell that if the formula is based on certain dates, if you are not able to find out those dates, if those dates are not at all there, then the time of supply will be the expenses entry in the books of accounts of the recipient. Date of entry, that is expenses entry in the books of accounts of the recipient, because you are looking from recipient's point of view. Right. So that, and you have to remember that this note is equally applicable for goods as well as for services. So we are done with your time of supply for goods as well as services under reverse charge mechanism. Now friends, let us see your time of supply in case of voucher supply. What happens if at all I am telling that the supply is that of voucher, supply is through voucher. Time of supply, where if you see the infographics, voucher picture is given through voucher supply. Now understand that when you talk about voucher supply or residual cases or interest, whether it is goods or services, answer will remain the same. So when you are discussing voucher supply, answer is same for goods as well as services. Different answer is there for goods and services only in case of FCM and RCM. But when you talk about voucher supply or residual cases or interest on delayed payment of consideration, the answer remains the same. So when you talk about voucher supply, whether it is goods or whether it is services, the answer will remain the same. Now when you talk about voucher supply, first let us see what is meant by voucher. Friends, voucher is nothing but money equivalent. It is a document which will entitle you to get the goods or services in return. So you are going to use that as money only. So you can call it as money equivalent. Now let us see the meaning of voucher, then let us see the time of supply. Now what is meant by voucher? What is meant by voucher? Voucher is an instrument. Voucher is an instrument where there is an obligation on the supplier. Supposing I am giving the vouchers to Reliance Limited and Tata Limited, and Reliance Limited employees and Tata Limited employees are bringing the voucher to me. So I am under obligation to accept that voucher as payment and give the employees of Reliance Limited and Tata Limited the goods and services which are possible within that voucher's terms and conditions. So voucher is nothing but an instrument where there is an obligation to accept that as consideration or part consideration, that as consideration or part consideration for the supply that I am going to make. And what will happen, where because of voucher I will be supplying the goods or services. What will be there on the voucher? On the voucher, either the goods and services to be supplied or their potential suppliers are indicated on the instrument. On the voucher itself, supposing I am issuing the vouchers to Reliance Limited, Tata Limited. Reliance Limited, Tata Limited will give the vouchers to their employees. Now, on the voucher, I mean, when you bring the voucher as a supplier, I am under obligation to accept it as consideration or part consideration. To accept it as consideration or part consideration. Plus, another point. Now, when the employees are coming, the voucher itself will indicate what all goods and services they can get from me. Either it will indicate what all goods and services they can get from me, or it will indicate where all you can use the vouchers. It will indicate that you can use that voucher in my shop, you can use that voucher in Big Bazaar, etc. etc. So either that voucher will indicate what all goods and services can be taken against the voucher, or where all you can go, who are the all potential suppliers where the employees of Reliance Limited and Tata Limited can go and redeem the vouchers. So potential suppliers will be indicated. It may be indicated on the instrument voucher itself or the related documents. Not necessarily it will be given everything on the voucher. It may be given in a separate page in terms of terms and conditions. So either what all goods and services employees of Reliance Limited, Tata Limited can get is clearly mentioned on the voucher itself. Which all potential suppliers they can go and get the goods and services may be clearly mentioned on the instrument itself. If not, it may be mentioned on separate documentation. And obviously understand that voucher will always have terms and conditions of use. So in that voucher or the related documentation, it will have terms and conditions including the expiry date. It will have terms and conditions including the expiry date. Now let us understand your time of supply for voucher with the help of examples so that things are pretty clear. So you know the meaning of voucher. Now in the example also you will understand the meaning of voucher in a much better manner. Assume a scenario where you are talking about Big Bazaar and say for example you are talking about Pizza Hut. Big Bazaar and Pizza Hut. Now what has happened? Tata Limited, Tata company, Tata Limited have purchased their vouchers, whether it is of Big Bazaar or whether it is of Pizza Hut. They have purchased both the vouchers. So Tata Limited has taken the vouchers and it had made the payment. Tata Limited had purchased the vouchers, have taken the vouchers and it has made the payment. It has made the payment to Big Bazaar as well as to Pizza Hut. Now understand that Tata Limited is trying to give some gifts to its employees. Always understand that when you give some gift, if you decide and give gift, it may not be useful for the person to whom you are gifting. But if you give an option to the person to whom you are giving gift, you tell that okay, my budget is say 50,000. You can purchase anything worth 50,000. So they will purchase what they like. So Tata Limited is taking the vouchers from Big Bazaar and Pizza Hut and giving to its employees. And it is giving to its employees. So all these vouchers are given to its employees. So all these vouchers have been taken by Tata Limited and all these vouchers have been given to the employees of Tata Limited. Now friends, we are not talking about Tata Limited and employees. The focus is on Big Bazaar, Tata Limited. Our focus is entirely on supply by Big Bazaar to Tata Limited and supply by Pizza Hut to Tata Limited. So when you talk about Tata Limited employees, again the answer will be more or less the same answer, but Tata Limited employees, if the gifts are up to 50,000 per financial year per employee, then it is not at all supply. So that you have to understand. So our focus is mainly on Big Bazaar to Tata Limited and Pizza Hut to Tata Limited. That is our focus. Now few of the employees. Now understand that when I'm getting the vouchers of Big Bazaar contains lot of items. I can purchase any of those items. The rates, the Big Bazaar contains lot of items where the rate of tax can be say 0% or 5% or say 12% or 18% or 28%. Whereas Pizza Hut contains generally you are talking about food related items, pizza and other related products, where assume that the rate of tax is only 5%. So there is a difference. If at all Big Bazaar is giving the voucher to Tata Limited, Tata Limited is telling that see I am making the payment for whatever I am taking vouchers for, say 1 crore, I am making the payment of 1 crore and I will be distributing those vouchers to my employees and they will come and purchase. But understand that Big Bazaar does not know their employees, the employees of Tata Limited will purchase what items. Whereas when Tata Limited is paying say 10 lakhs to Pizza Hut and telling that I am purchasing vouchers for 10 lakhs and I will be giving to my employees. My employees will have food at your place whenever they want within the expiry date of the voucher. Now Pizza Hut clearly knows that whenever their employees are going to come, they can have only these items and the rate of tax is only 1. Now understand that in the first scenario, Big Bazaar is not sure what will be the supply that will be made by it to the employees in future. Big Bazaar has already collected 1 crore. Big Bazaar has already collected 1 crore. It has already received the payment. And Pizza Hut has already collected 10 lakhs. It has already received the payment. The difference is when you talk about Big Bazaar is not aware of the fact that the employees of Tata Limited will purchase the goods at the rate of 0% or will purchase the goods which are having 5% rate or the goods which are having 12% or 18 or 28 or combination of the goods say 5 and 12% or 12 and 28% or 18 and 5% etc. Big Bazaar is not aware of the fact. Right, and assume that these vouchers are issued on April. The vouchers are being issued in the month of April. Now Big Bazaar is a scenario. Where you cannot be sure what the employees of Tata Limited will go and purchase at Big Bazaar because there are multiple rates. So it is not identifiable. So you will have two terminologies used there. If at all the supply is identifiable at the time of issuance of voucher, and if supply is not identifiable at the time of issuance of voucher. Two scenarios: supply being identifiable, supply not being identifiable. Now if you look at our example, you will clearly understand that Big Bazaar is a scenario. Where you don't know supply is not identifiable at the time of issuance of voucher. And Pizza Hut is a transaction or a case where supply is identifiable at the time of issuance of voucher. Now when you talk about employees, let us assume that employees of Tata Limited we categorize into 3. We are categorizing employees of Tata Limited into 3 parts because they are using the vouchers at different point of time. Employees category 1, employees category 2, employees category 3. Here also we are categorizing into 3. Employees category 1, employees category 2, employees category 3. Now, why are we categorizing into 3? They are going to redeem or use the voucher. Employees category 1 are going to redeem or use the voucher. Let us assume that they are going to use it in June month. And employees category 2, let us assume that they are going to use in the month of October. Employees category 3, December. So June, we are taking the same months: June, October, December. It will be given along with the date. I am taking months. Now in both the cases, employees are redeeming the vouchers or using the vouchers in the month of June, in the month of October, in the month of December. Now what will be the time of supply? Now understand, Big Bazaar is a scenario where supply is not identifiable at the time of issuance of voucher. When the voucher are issued in the month of April, Big Bazaar does not know what employees are going to purchase. He is not aware whether they are going to take the goods at 0% or 5 or 12 or 18 or 28% or combination of these rates. So, in such a scenario, time of supply is equal to date of redemption of vouchers. Date of redemptions of vouchers, which means time of supply for the first case, time of supply for the employees category 1 will be June. Time of supply for employees category 2 will be October. Time of supply for employees category 3 will be December, because it is date of redemption of voucher, June, October, December. You are focusing on date of redemption of vouchers. Only when they are redeeming the vouchers, Big Bazaar will be knowing, okay, they have taken the goods having say 5% rate or 12 or 18% rate or 28% rate or combination thereof. But if at all it is Pizza Hut case, where you know supply is clearly identifiable. Whenever employees are going to come, it is clearly identifiable that they are going to have only food which is having say 5%. In that scenario, time of supply is equal to date of issuance of voucher. Only one answer. Time of supply is equal to date of issuance of voucher. So, whether it is employees category 1 or employees category 2 or employees category 3, the answer is the same. Date of issuance of voucher which happened in the month of April. Date of issuance of voucher which happened in the month of April. Friends, when was the voucher issued? It was in the month of April. So, if you look at the example carefully, you will easily understand the meaning of voucher that we have discussed, also the time of supply, and you will understand with the help of the logic. Where I have taken the example of Big Bazaar, you clearly know Big Bazaar is the supplier and Tata Limited is the recipient. Here Pizza Hut is the supplier in the second case and Tata Limited again is the recipient. Employees are the beneficiary. For Big Bazaar, they are dealing with multiple items, so supply will not be identifiable when the vouchers are issued in the month of April. They will not know the employees are going to purchase which item. Therefore, time of supply is date of redemption of voucher. It will be different for employees category 1, June, employees category 2, October, employees category 3, December. Whereas when you are talking about Pizza Hut, supplier and Tata Limited being the recipient, employees are the beneficiary. Supply is clearly identifiable at the time of issuance of voucher itself. They know that it is after all food which is having the same rate as 5%. So, the time of supply will be only one for all the three categories. It is date of issuance of voucher right in the beginning. That is month of April. So, that is all about your voucher supply. We have seen the meaning of voucher as well as the time of supply for voucher. If supply is identifiable, answer will be only one for all the categories, date of issuance of voucher. If it is not identifiable at the time of issuance of voucher, then time of supply will be date of redemption of vouchers. Will have multiple answers. Now, residual cases, time of supply in case of residual case. Friends, when I talk about residual case, we have already discussed whether it is for goods or whether it is for services. The answer will be the same. The provision is section 12.5 for the goods and section 13.5 for the services. The answer is going to be the same for voucher supply, residual supply, and you are talking about interest on delayed payment of consideration. Now, when you talk about your residual scenario, what are they trying to tell? In simple language, you can understand residual scenario as fraud case. Right. Now, I am going to categorize your fraud case into two parts. Now, first is a fraudulent case where you are required to file periodical returns. Which means you are under fraud category, that is you don't have books of accounts. You don't have records of books of accounts, but you are registered. You don't have books of accounts, but unfortunately you are registered, and only if you are registered you are required to file periodical returns. If you are unregistered person, there is no need of filing of returns. So, you are talking about a scenario where you are talking about books of accounts not being there, records not being there, but you are registered. For such a scenario, your time of supply is due date of filing of return. You are talking about fraudulent case. This is normal fraud. Now, the next is extreme fraud. So, you are talking about a scenario where any other case is an extreme scenario. Fraudulent case, you don't have books of accounts, you don't have books of accounts, plus you are not also registered. Extreme fraud. You don't have your books of accounts as well as you are not registered. Extreme fraud. See, understand, residual scenario is a scenario where books or records are not there. Simple. Where books or records are not available. Instead of writing it as books, I may write it as records, which is much wider term. So no records, no registration. The first was a scenario where you don't have records, but you are registered. You don't have records, but you are registered. Now second is a scenario where you don't have records plus you are not registered. Records is a wider term which will include even books. So you don't have records, no registration. In such a scenario, the answer is actual date of payment of tax. This is extreme fraud case. Extreme fraud case. No records, no registration, nothing. You are not at all registered plus you don't have any records. You are not at all registered but plus you don't have any records. So when you talk about this scenario, questions may not be asked as simple as you are looking at the provisions. Question may be asked in twisted terms. So you have to first understand that frauds are categorized into two. What is that? No records, but you are registered. Normal fraud. Second is a scenario where you don't have records, plus you are not at all registered. Right? So these are the two categories. The common point is you don't have records. For a normal fraud scenario, what is the time of supply? The time of supply for normal fraud scenario is due date, not the actual date, due date of filing of returns. For extreme fraudulent case, time of supply is actual date, not due date now, it is actual date of payment of tax. Payment of tax. Here it is filing of return, here it is payment of tax. Here the entire emphasis is on due date of returns. Here it is actual date of payment. Actual date of payment. Now you might get questions in this format. Supposing one format of question, there is an action taken against Mr. Vijay Mallya, who is the managing director of Kingfisher Limited. So income tax authorities have started search action against Vijay Mallya, not Kingfisher. They have started search action against Vijay Mallya, and they have found that there is a lot of undisclosed service income, and income tax department forwards this information to GST department. When asked Vijay Mallya tells that he accepts that it is his service income, but he is not sure when such service income was accrued or rising. He is not sure whether it was earned in first half of the year or second half of the year. He is not sure. And now this will be the question. Now understand that how to find whether it is focusing on residual sales. The question will be, and they will tell us the time of supply. Understand the scenario. When they tell Vijay Mallya is managing director of Kingfisher Limited, you are talking about employee. And understand that employee normally will not get any GST registration. So normal understanding is, if you are employee, you are covered under Schedule 3. You are not going to get any GST registration. So there won't be any GST registration. So this is very clear that as your employee, you will be covered by Schedule 3 and you will not be registered. And second important point is Vijay Mallya tells that he is not sure when such service income has accrued. So this point symbolizes that there are no records. So it is indirectly now clear that you don't have registration because your employee, normally any employees will not have any registration. Normal scenario, they will not have any registration, and this point symbolizes that there are no records. Therefore, the time of supply will be equal to actual date of payment of tax. Actual date of payment of taxes. So that is how you have to look at the question and try to find out what are they trying to tell. Now this is called as art of reading the question. Art of reading the question, which you will cultivate only when you see more and more questions. Now friends, when you are talking about the last scenario is all about interest. It is all about your interest on delayed payment of consideration. You may call it as interest or late fees or penalty, whatever name you call. It is for delayed payment of consideration. Again, as discussed, the answer is the same for goods as well as services. Whether it is voucher supply or residual case, or whether it is interest, the answer is same for goods as well as for services. So you are talking about interest on delayed payment of consideration, late payment. So it will be, if you remember in valuation chapter, we have discussed that it is not a separate supply. It is addition to the value of original supply. It is not a separate supply by itself. It is addition to the value of original supply. And for such interest, the time of supply, friends, is the date of receipt of such interest. Date of receipt of such interest. So time of supply is when you are receiving that particular interest. Only when you receive it. Normally, GST you have to pay whether or not you get the amount, whether it is selling price or any other value, whether or not you get from the recipient. You have to pay GST to the government. But when you talk about GST on interest, on delayed payment of consideration, understand that we are not talking about interest on loan, we are talking about interest on delayed payment of consideration. It is not a separate supply by itself. This is not a separate supply by itself. It is only addition to the value of original supply. Addition to the value of original supply. It is not a separate supply. The document for this will be debit note. It is not a separate supply, therefore that document will not be invoice, document will be debit note, and the rate of tax will depend on rate of tax of the original supply. If the original supply had 5%, this interest on delayed payment of consideration will have 5%. If the original supply had 18%, the interest on delayed payment of consideration will also have 18%, and so on. Right. So you have to remember that these three important points we have already discussed in valuation, but at the cost of repetition I am again telling these three important points. First, it is not a separate supply. It is only addition to the value of original supply, and the document for this will be debit note, and rate of tax will depend on the rate of tax of original supply. Plus another important point, GST on this interest will be paid only when it is actually received. Only and only when it is actually received. Now let us take an example to close this, so that our entire understanding of time of supply even for this last part is done with. Let us assume that there is a supply by VJ Limited to PJ Limited. This supply happened in the month of April 2022. The supply happened in the month of April 2022, and the supply is worth say 10 lakhs plus GST at the rate of 5%. And it was agreed that the payment will be made within. Payment by PJ Limited will be made within 3 months. That was also the understanding that. Now, when you talk about this scenario, payment happens finally in the month of, actually the payment happens in the month of, so let us assume that payment happens in the month of December 2022, which is not within the agreed period of 3 months. It is not within the agreed period of 3 months. Now what will be the time of supply? And thus interest is being charged. Let us assume that interest charges 1 lakh. Let us assume that interest charges say 1 lakh plus GST. The rate will be the same 5%. Right. Now various scenarios. We will take various cases. Understand that whatever is the cases, we are not talking about time of supply for 10 lakhs. If you are talking about time of supply, for 10 lakhs, the original supply. Now, time of supply for 10 lakhs in all the cases, whatever cases we are going to discuss, in all the cases will be April 2022. assuming that it is actual date of invoice. Assuming that it is actual date of invoice. So we are assuming that invoice is raised in time, and we are going with this April 2022. So in all the cases it will be April 2022, right? For all the cases, we are focusing on time of supply for 1 lakh. This is interest on delayed payment. You may call it as interest or late fees or penalty, whatever name you call. We're talking about interest on delayed payment of consideration. Now there might be various cases. Now case 1, this interest is paid in December 2022. So for that, time of supply will be December 2022. Second case, interest is paid in Jan 2023. You have charged interest in December. You have claimed interest in December, but it is paid in January 2023. So answer will be January 2023. Next case. Interest is paid in March 2023, and that too it is only 60,000 is paid, not entire 1 lakh, 60,000. Now time of supply will be March 2023 and only for 60,000, assuming that he is paying 60,000 plus GST. Only for 60,000. Whereas in the first two case, we were talking about the entire amount, because the entire amount was paid. 1 lakh plus GST was paid in the first two cases. In the fourth scenario, assume that interest is not at all paid. You are claiming the interest, but interest is not at all paid. So nothing will happen. Understand that in all the cases, for 10 lakhs, whether or not, so moment you are talking about 10 lakhs for original supply, whether or not that payment of 10 lakhs is made or not, there will be time of supply. Which is assuming that invoice is raised in time April 2022. Whether or not you pay that 10 lakhs. Even if you are not paying a single paisa of 10 lakhs, even then I am taking an extreme scenario. Even if 10 lakhs is not paid, this will be the answer, April 2022. But when you're talking about your interest, if interest is paid in December 2022, answer is December 2022 for that 1 lakh. If interest is paid in Jan 2023, answer is Jan 2023 for that 1 lakh. If interest is paid in March 2023 and only part of the interest is paid, negotiation is done and part interest is paid. So answer is March 2023, not for entire 1 lakh, it is for 60,000. If interest is not at all paid, you are claiming, as a supplier, I am asking for the interest, but it is not at all paid. There will be no GST. On interest. But understand that GST on 10 lakhs will be there even in the last scenario. So we are not talking about the 10 lakhs. For 10 lakhs, selling price, basic original supply, GST will be there. So that is how you have to understand this. Particular. This is an extreme. All the examples that we are trying to take in our QR infographics, quick revision infographics, where we are promising and delivering 100% coverage of all the concepts, which will be very useful for your 100% revision before exams. We are trying to take all the master examples. So when you get a very simple question, you will find that things are very, very, very simple. So that is all about your time of supply for forward charge mechanism, different for goods, different for services. And there are two steps. First step number 1 is due date of invoice. Step number 2 is time of supply. Time of supply for reverse charge mechanism, different for goods, different for services. Time of supply for voucher supply, time of supply for residual cases, and time of supply for interest or late fees or penalty for delayed payment of consideration. Whether goods or services, the answer is the same. So we are done with this particular time of supply in all these 5 scenarios.